Hi. Welcome back to our oppositional mathematics course at Berg Mountain University entitled #Calculations for Tomorrow, Tools in Mathematics 6. In this session we cover achieving understandings in algebra. Won't you come along with us?
Chapter 7, Eta, 7. Achieving understandings algebraically. Generalizing mathematics, we achieve understandings of algebra where, like alphabetically in words of languages we speak, numerically we better understand algebraic functions or numeric sentences through variables. Remembering yesteryear in college algebra was so abstract that instructors whose first language was other than English preached the ins and outs of number theory. It wasn't the case that, though listening may have been challenging, we couldn't grasp the gist of lectures, because they would teach speaking not socially but numerically. As doctors in different fields have terms not known by those in others, mathematics is no different wherein algebra lies. What is it though that distinguishes algebra from other disciplines within mathematics? A Persian polymath named Muhammad ibn Musa al-Khwarizmi wrote a treatise entitled Al-Jabr from 813 to 33 as a comprehensive way of presenting essential facts of calculation where balance is from completion. Solutions therein to linear and quadratic equations were first systematically presented by al-Khwarizmi with Arabian charisma. With geometric justifications in this work, he'd demonstrate by completing a square how to solve quadratic equations. The first to introduce reducing and balancing methods in mathematics whereby treating algebra as its own discipline, al-Khwarizmi is known as the father of algebra. He was appointed astronomer in Baghdad's House of Wisdom and its head as al-Khwarizmi hailed from Khwarazm. From 820 to 833 he would also write as-Sindhind, great astronomical tables of the Sindhind, and Kitab Surat al-Ard, book of the depiction of the earth. Perhaps more so Zoroastrian than Muslim, he coined the term algorithm. Thus spoke Zarathustra, algebraically where nationally we must consider terms, x, and a senator's charisma change Aman to Amen or vice versa.
Thus spoke Zarathustra or Zoroaster in al-Khwarizmi, whose reduction of terms to one and balancing terms to where they are even, he spoke then. Founding the first monotheist religion around 1500 BC, he'd certainly analyzed what actually one is and that it is all. Plotting numbers to graphs of equations, each has its position where between what we call 1s, 2s, and 3s are sets of infinite number of which from 1 to 2 is either 1 or 1 of all. What is 1 other than all or all of but 1? What we base 1 off is relative, but through algebra many terms are reduced to 1 and sides of linear and quadratic equations are solved. More concerned with properties of functions than actual decimal values of x, al-Khwarizmi's algebra presented the first systematic solutions to linear equations. In the old Babylonian Empire from 1894 a technique of completing the square was known, but al-Khwarizmi in Al-Jabr used the technique in solving quadratic equations. From translations to Latin the Western world learned of such reduction and balancing from his treatise which posthumously brought with it even greater fame. Reducing terms to trinomials, integers of perfect squares are placed in quadratic equations. With the introduction of J from Latin where in English it's the fourth less frequently used letter, Al-Jabr would translate using instead of JG yielding algebra. The charisma of al-Khwarizmi in reducing and balancing terms proved true for those Latin and translated it was understood by those Anglo where in theory mathematic proofs are universal.
What? Well, because we are considering terms to the 50th power, when considering our national campaign where at least 7 is 49% with independents usually 5% where a majority we find algebraically. Thinking of our 50 states we do as al-Khwarizmi would have the 50 fortresses oasis of the ancient desert castles of Khwarazm known as el-Kala. The Khwarazm or Khwarizmiya oasis lies in the region of the Amu Darya River Delta where between oases desert prevails. Not unlike acreage of corn, crops, and cattle grazing between state capitals and states county courthouses oases aren't always separated from others by sand but distance where refreshment is found. Within the 50 fortresses oasis was a network where responsibility of the predominantly Zoroastrian Afriid masses was to the Shah. As the Afriid dynasty and followers freed themselves from the Parthian Empire in the 1st century, 8th century coins of Sawashvan prove Khwarazm was once of the Parthian Empire. What does this have to do with algebra, one may wonder? Well, algebra is not reducing and balancing terms for the sake of number, but for the sake of things numbers represent. Unfathomable, empires would still be, without algebra where 50 superscript 2 is a force of 2,500 if and only if all are fed in quantities algebraically calculated.
With what's called charisma from al-Khwarizmi of reducing Amen to Aman, the individual's needs are considered in balancing one term and another or others. Senators address masses evenly. Wishing perpetuity, men do so under leaders whose charisma leads their leadership to be preferred as they rejoice not in their leadership but in their positions under leaders' administrations. With linear and quadratic equations we find values of x, where, non-nomadic, man lives in at least pairs, and thus one man present is at least 2 with woman the other. Calculating the mortality rate, like doing so parabolas, when squared is acceleratingly more than doubled. From foci's lattice rectum to directrix those within parabolas from vortexes determines target audiences as augury from foci by Shah's commence and pontification is reduced from 3 to 1 in y. With x superscript 2, 1 of 50 fortresses oasis, x, the population, or value of or in one fortress and the constant, the value of 1 is not all 1s are equal only a percent of our perception of 1, graphed we calculate, y. Having the ability to reach 1, 1 has 2 where squared is only doubled at 2 with 3 superscript 2, 9, but there are infinite digits between 1.0 and 2.0. Y equals x superscript 2 plus bx plus k. Well, no k can equal 0, because number 1 is nothing or nobody. Considering charisma and al-Khwarizmi's algebra or algebra, at the axis of symmetry those senate with charisma stand between states and men.
Thus spoke Zarathustra algebraically, where nationally we must consider 50 superscript 2, or 2500, and as senators calculate pacification comes off as charisma. And I don't even think this is new knowledge. It's just explained from another perspective. So, yes, we use algebra daily, whether we think so as x superscript 2 isn't growth, but acceleratingly, prosperity.
That concludes the information we have for this time. We hope you have achieved a better understanding of algebra. Next session after spring break we cover championing sessions trigonometrically. We hope to see you there. Thank you for your time and consideration.